be gentle with yourself in the work, right? Commit to education. There are so many resources, so many books, other podcasts. There are thought leaders that you can listen to. I would say trust, especially marginalized people when they share their experiences, and look to them as leaders in the work. But again, like I said, don't put all of the work on those people. Expand your circle, right? Like get out and explore and learn. But the number one thing, if I were to say just one behavior, what do you say? No, poverty's nerfect.
Poverty's
nerfect, right? Nobody's perfect in this work, and relieve yourself of that pressure.
Yeah.
When I say be gentle with yourself, that's what I mean. I'm not perfect in this, so I always have to give myself the space to make mistakes, and I think that's a big part of creating the safe space. When I'm having these conversations, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna fuck up. Like, let's talk about it and get messy with it.
Welcome to the Culture Goodr podcast with Stephen Leese and Shaun. This podcast is a behind the shades look at creating and changing culture inside of Goodr sunglasses. You can live with the status quo, you can challenge the status quo, or you can do what we do at Goodr and status the quo challenge.
All right. Welcome to another special episode of the Culture Goodr podcast. Today we have Maya. Welcome, Maya.
Hey.
So we're going to be talking about DEI and purpose together here today. But before we get started, let's do just a quick lightning round and set things up, huh?
Ooh, okay, let's do it.
All right, cool. So how long have you been at Goodr?
Oh, I had my 3-year anniversary last week, actually.
All right.
So,
Nice.
3 years.
Solid. That's like 9 flamingo years.
At least.
For sure. Yeah. All right. And then how about your lame title and fun title?
Okay. My lame title, I almost never say because it's so long, actually. We need to, maybe we can revisit it.
Yeah, sure.
But it's Culture and Organizational Development Manager. Even though I don't actually have any direct reports that I'm managing.
Sure.
It's more like managing.
But you're managing the development of the thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, Culture and Organizational Development Manager. But my fun title is the People's Champ.
I love it.
So that's the one I use.
Yeah. That's the one I know. So.
Yeah. That's the quick one.
Yeah. I mean, it's there. How have your roles changed since you started at Goodr?
Oh, a lot. So initially I was hired on as a project manager, and I was working really closely with Steven, kind of helping him take things off the back burner. And then I shifted into like a bunch of stuff. I helped out with hiring. I helped on the podcast for a little while. I did some office management stuff, and now I'm working with you.
Yep.
More in learning
Stoked.
and development, purpose projects, AMP stuff.
Yeah, cool.
DEI, yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, that's a bunch. What's your favorite thing about working at Goodr?
Oh, this is going to sound like a cop-out answer, but my favorite thing is that I can have a different favorite thing depending on the day. And I say that to mean all my needs are met at any given time. And that's my favorite thing.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, so we're hiring a couple more people for our team here starting in March, but this is essentially a Goodr University podcast right now.
Yeah, it is.
What are you excited about as our team continues to grow?
Oh gosh, to have some extra brain power and hands and everything on our team. Also just new perspectives and bringing in some like great expertise on certain things as we're building out new projects and new frontiers. It's going to be great. Just have more brain power.
Oh, totally. Yeah. We were talking about like, we can do the vision and we can like do talks and teach. We can make courses. We can look at all the content we have. But we can't do it all at once.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have roles that are going to be managing those things.
It's going to be great. I'm really excited. It can't come fast enough.
Same. I know. Agreed. So you're our DEI mindset coach. So what does that mean? How do you approach that role?
Yes. So I definitely approach it with my 2 core values of love and vision. And right now it looks like creating space to meet with flock leaders and their teams to talk about DEI and how it might apply to their teams and their work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So can you break that down? DE&I, what does that mean? How do we approach them?
Yes. So big kind of buzzwords, right, that we hear a lot. And they are big concepts, but I think at Goodr, it really started with this idea that we say, be unabashedly yourself. So DEI here helps us to do that, helps us to show up more fully. So when we look at D, which is diversity, at Goodr, it's kind of the beauty of difference and a range in human characteristics. That's like the quick way to do it.
Super simple.
E is equity. And here I explain it to people as it's making sure people have the resources they need to show up fully. So that's the difference between giving everybody exactly the same resources and giving people tailored resources to what they need, because everybody's coming from different places.
Meet them where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then inclusion is the I, and that essentially means that people aren't just in the room, but that they're part of the conversation.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sure you get to have a lot of interesting conversations in this role. Can you just talk about how those typically go?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So there are a range of different conversations that happen. And it's everything from the structured, planned talks that I do at TWC to kind of the one-on-one conversations that happen just in passing with people at lunch, and the meetings that I have with flock leaders or their teams or both. It ranges from talking about holidays and cultural months, different definitions and concepts. But the thing for me that really stands out is when I introduce a concept, somebody comes up to me inevitably and is like, oh, that really stuck with me. I never thought about it that way. Or maybe a month later, someone will come up to me and say, hey, I kept thinking about that thing that you talked about, and I brought it up with my parents. Or it impacted something we did at the holidays. Or now I'm implementing this new behavior. And that makes everything worth it for me. That's everything. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super fulfilling.
Yeah.
Huh? See, hearing people close the loop and not just within the work environment.
Yeah, that's what it's about, right? Like if I can reach one person in those big all company talks, like that's everything. That's kind of the why behind it.
Totally.
Yeah.
So how do you see DEI evolving in the corporate space, and why is it important that companies should care?
Okay, big question. But dream world is that DEI becomes prioritized by every company, right? And that it looks like more than just boring trainings that you're kind of clicking through or like you're checking boxes, but that it's really implemented in the day-to-day. Like here at goodr, we say there is no DEI and then goodr, but it's woven into the work that we do.
Yeah.
So beyond that, even a lot of times it's like people of color, women, queer people that are leading this work, and that's beautiful and wonderful. But I think dream world, this expands to, yes, those people, we're leading the work, great, but the work isn't 100% on us. So that everybody can take ownership in it. That's dream world where it would go.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's something that's truly integrated into the entire fabric of the company, the way that they approach and think about things. That's why we call it a mindset coach, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not a box that's being checked, but it's
so much more than that.
Right. And truly inclusive. Amazing. Yeah. So you've taken over onboarding mentorship. How do you coach DEI from the start?
Okay, so just in onboarding week 1, I meet with all of the new hires and we do a 30-minute DEI talk. And I make sure that I break the ice right off the bat, because a lot of times people see DEI in onboarding week and they think that it's what we were just talking about. It's some kind of boring, like, oh God, like I'm going to have to talk about this stuff I don't want to even address and I don't know any of these people. So right off the bat, we have the 30-minute talk. I'm like, let's break the ice, talk about where you all are coming from. What kind of trainings have you gone through before? Let's be honest about maybe some of you were dreading this, right? And then we go through just a quick introduction to what DE&I stands for, like we just talked about.
Yeah.
We play a quick game around intersectionality, which is a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw. And it's kind of the other I that I would add onto DE&I. But we play a quick game and that's it. And then 3 months into onboarding, we do a follow-up session and we'll kind of review the concepts. We play another game around bias and I give a little backstory into who I am and why I do the work. I create space for people to have questions and we go a little deeper into concepts.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Any fun stories from those times?
Yes. One of the most fulfilling moments for me was as I began to build this work out here, I was like, man, I really hope I'm getting through to people. Like, with this work, it's sometimes hard to measure and quantify it, right? But there are often those moments that stand out. And there was an onboarding session that I was leading, and I asked the newbies, what does diversity look like? And there were crickets, and I was like, fuck, like I didn't get through to them at all. And so I waited and eventually somebody raised their hand and she was like, oh, well, diversity looks like this. It looks like this room. It looks like what we're doing here. And it stuck with me because it was kind of a confirmation that right off the bat, these new hires are seeing our investment in this work and that they're feeling the impacts of it. So
right, literally right around them in the class that they're starting with.
Right, that you could look around the room and see it and feel it week one. And I was like, yes, okay, we're on the right path.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So what can we do to be better stewards of DEI in general?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are so many things, right? I could go on and on. We could do a whole episode about this. But I would say a few things everybody can do is be gentle with yourself in the work, right? Commit to education. There are so many resources, so many books, other podcasts. There are thought leaders that you can listen to. I would say trust especially marginalized people when they share their experiences and look to them as leaders in the work. But again, like I said, don't put all of the work on those people. Expand your circle, right? Like get out and explore and learn. But the number one thing, if I were to say just one behavior, is to remember that, what do you say? No, nobody's perfect.
Nobody's
perfect, right? Nobody's perfect in this work. And relieve yourself of that pressure.
Yeah.
When I say be gentle with yourself, that's what I mean. I'm not perfect in this. So I always have to give myself the space to make mistakes. And I think that's a big part of creating the safe space. When I'm having these conversations, I'm like, hey, I'm going to fuck up. Like, let's talk about it and get messy with it, right?
What a relief.
Yeah, right? It's a big weight off your shoulders. So
yeah, for sure. I imagine like a lot of the discomfort comes from wanting everything to just be okay and realizing maybe not so consciously that it's not all okay for everyone all the time. And so to be like, that's not how, what do I do?
Yeah, there's that like stutter step of like, I want to get involved, but I don't know what to do. And that can be a really scary thing. So I always try to keep that front of mind for myself that like, I've been doing this work for years, but not everybody has.
Yeah.
So going into these conversations, it's important for me to make it accessible for everybody to participate, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Is there like just like a one or two pointers like, okay, I feel uncomfortable addressing this, but I want to participate. How do I show up in a way that feels supportive? So like, even if it's just something like, just saying that you want, whatever, something simple.
Yeah. I think it can be really freeing to acknowledge that first to yourself and then even out loud to be like, hey, I don't know if this is, messy first draft or like just put it out there. Right. And a lot of times I think it can be beneficial in those spaces to focus on listening first, like try and do more listening and then pitch in where you can, like show up where you can. Don't necessarily take up space just to take up space. And that can be freeing, right? To say, I want to show up, but let me learn. And I can say, I don't really know much about this and that's okay, right? I'm just here to support however I can, right?
Yeah. And also in doing that, maybe creating space for others to participate as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, inevitably there's going to be someone else in the room who's like, I was thinking that same thing and I didn't know what to say. And that's like freeing for them too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So if we could wave a magic wand and just fix this for everyone, what would that look like? Super high level.
Yes. Okay. Huge question. Almost like an impossible question.
Yeah.
And I would be lying if I said that some days I don't feel like just burn it all down. But I really think empathy is at the core of it, right? Empathy is just holding that close is so key to the work. But like I said, education really helps. And working together as a community, right? To understand where people are coming from, understand the systems at play. And then you can work together to dismantle and then rebuild. But it starts with learning.
Yeah.
It starts with learning and having conversations. So don't be shy to just participate and be a part of them.
For sure.
Yeah.
Listening, learning, participating.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's all part of community and connection. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So we're going to switch gears a little bit here and talk about community and connection in a little bit of a different way. So you're in charge of our purpose projects, which help our staff find ways to connect with and support our local communities. So can you just talk a little bit about that? What does that look like? How do they do it? How do you run this whole program?
So purpose projects are all about leaving the world better than you found it. I feel so fortunate to lead that initiative here. And we have 2 tracks at goodr. We have the Do Goodr Purpose Project track, which is group volunteer days.
Yeah.
Then we have individual purpose projects, which means people can create their own way of giving back, and they do that on their own. They essentially all fall into 3 different areas.
Mm-hmm.
So we have earth and animals, we have people, human rights, and DEI, and then we have connection, culture, and creativity. Some projects overlap, but they have to hit one of those.
Right.
And they have to answer the questions, what community did this positively impact and how? And how did you make the world a better place?
Yeah.
So, and how was connection created too? So you have to be able to see that.
Yeah, I love the connection piece. And it's for sure there in all of them. Can you talk through just like what are some of the volunteer opportunities that you've put together for the staff?
Yeah, totally. We do all kinds of things. So we have beach cleanups. We work really closely with the LA LGBT Center. They have lots of different sites throughout LA. So we'll go there and like hand out groceries and connect with the community and give out resources.
Just did a birthday card
making
thing the other day.
Sometimes we work with this org called the Birthday Party Project, where we create birthday cards for kids in the foster system so that they can still celebrate their birthday and make sure that they're feeling extra special on their day. What else? We've worked with an org called Free Arts in building a mural in Los Angeles. All kinds of different things, but I try to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to show up in one of the 3 categories, right?
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I just did the beach cleanup one. That was really fun.
It's great. Yeah. You get to hang out with your friends and coworkers and just be out in the sun, learn a lot about the environment and like beautify the beach and help out the world. It's great.
We for sure picked up a lot of trash, but we also definitely tested who could skip the most rocks and who could find the coolest seashells.
Yeah, beyond seashells, you find some kind of weird stuff on the beach.
There was
so
a lot of also weird stuff. Yeah, for sure. But some great shells. Yeah. So what's your dream partnership and are we talking to them yet?
I've reached out to lots of different orgs, and it's really important for me that it's an ongoing thing rather than like a one-off.
Right.
So we're working with a lot of the orgs that I've been excited to work with already. My dream now is to be more involved in our community. So we're in Inglewood, and there are so many organizations out here. So any orgs that are listening to this right now, if you aren't working with us, hit us up. Hit me up
staff
directly.
Of volunteers.
Yeah, I just want to get more involved in Inglewood, South Central, South LA area.
Yeah. For sure. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
As local as we can be, right?
Absolutely. goodr can be a part of the community in so many different ways. So absolutely.
Yeah. We already have. Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
What's something super challenging about running this initiative and what would you change if you could?
So there have been different challenges over different time periods. So during COVID times, there were issues with virtual volunteering, COVID tests, all kinds of stuff. For the individual projects, the challenge that we had was like, how do we measure purpose projects for AMP and what does that look like? And now one of the ones, as we're growing so much, is making sure that everybody has a chance to participate in the opportunities. So that's the biggest one. And I would say if I could wave a magic wand, there's lots of orgs I want to get involved with that require a lot of training and they only kind of offer one-on-one opportunities. So if I could wave a magic wand, we would be able to help everybody out, right? And we wouldn't have to go through all of the training, but it's really important for some orgs, so I get it.
For sure. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the do-gooder side. Maybe can you just give us some examples of like what cool individual purpose projects are that you've seen?
Yeah. I mean, you had a really cool one that you were doing, teaching guitar lessons. There's people who work with lots of different animals. So like horses, cats. We've had people create their own nonprofits. There's one called LA Saves Track, which, oh my gosh, which is run by Chloe Towns. And LA Saves Track, her organization has raised over $100K to build a track and facilities for the students of LA High. And that is just incredible and a great example of the space that goodr creates for people to give back. So
for sure,
lots of amazing work.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So it's so cool that you get to help people that may not have normally volunteered to just serve up volunteer opportunities they can sign up for.
Totally.
And then other folks who have ideas of their own, they get a chance to essentially get paid to run their own kind of like mini nonprofit type scenario.
Yeah, and it really runs the gamut. There's a wide range of things that people are doing. And at the end of the trimester in people's AMP reviews, we do a purpose panel, purpose project panel.
Yep.
Say that 5 times fast. And people share their wins from the trimester. And it's so cool to just hear the highlights of the amazing work that everybody's doing. So it's really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On that note, you are always looking sort of for the highlights and sometimes the lowlights of life here at goodr.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the surveys you run and the kind of things that we're looking for and able to respond to as a result?
Yeah, absolutely. So we run 2 big surveys a year at goodr. We have lots of smaller surveys that happen throughout the year, but 2 big company-wide ones. And we get lots of feedback from people about things they love that we're doing in our company culture and areas that they think we can improve. So then as a team, we review all of the comments. They're sent in anonymously, compile them and kind of categorize them and figure out, okay, where can we level up, right? What projects are we already doing that we can improve? Where can we build new projects? Where do we go from here? Then I share that out to the company and we put any projects that we need to in place.
Yeah. So people always worry or wonder, is this really anonymous? So are they really anonymous surveys?
I've straight up had people come up to me and they're like, you can see it though. You can see who says what. I'm like, no, I actually can't. They are run through a third-party site and everything is removed. And I just get all of the comments in like buckets. So it's like all of the comments. It's not this person between the ages of this and this said this. And I can be like, do detective work. There's none of that. It's totally separate. And it's great because people really share their honest thoughts, which we need.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes if things go well, we end up on a list of like great places to work or something like that. So what does that mean to you when we are able to hit those marks?
Gosh, it's great because it's so much more than like a shiny award. I think it's a big signifier that the work that we're doing is paying off and that employee experience is really special, right? Like, we have gotten such great feedback from employees who are living the culture that it stands out and is now being recognized externally. And that's really cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's not just talk.
It's not just talk and it's not just a shiny award.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. So random closing question here. What does culture in the workplace mean to you?
Great question. I think culture is how we exercise who we are. Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing. It's so much more than that. It means many things, right? But,
So how does that play out for you? How do you see it?
Well, I think here we're really intentional about identifying the supporting and slippery behaviors and our core values and all of these different things that help us outline and give us kind of a map for our culture. But I see it beyond that. I see it in the day-to-day and how people show up for each other here.
Yeah.
It's that warmth that we have here and the connection that we create. And it's the thing that really just makes happy employees. And like people show up every day wanting to help each other out and staying way after 5 p.m. if they want, just to hang out and just kick it at the office. And that's a real, that happened just yesterday. I think that's a real symbol that what we're doing is bringing people together beyond just the work, right?
For sure, yeah. People aren't punching the clock. They really care about each other, care about their work, and it shows.
And I was a COVID, 2 weeks before COVID hire. And that was like one of the biggest indicators for me of how strong the culture is. That when we went fully remote 2 weeks after I started, I didn't feel like cast aside. Our culture is so strong that I and the rest of the people that started with me, we all felt really included, and that's really special.
I know, that's wild. I actually, thinking back on that time, I was like, I felt very bonded and connected, even though there was so little time together in person.
Yeah. Definitely not forgotten children of COVID. We were fully part of the culture from day one.
For sure. Yeah. Well, it's good to be back in office again.
For sure.
Cool. Well, Maya, thank you so much for joining us. It was awesome to have you here and appreciate you sharing your expertise with us.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Absolutely. Well done.
Yay!
Thanks for listening to the Culture Goodr podcast. To submit questions for the podcast, learn more about our culture, and learn how you can status the quote challenge, head over to goodr.com/culture. And don't forget to subscribe to us wherever you're listening, including on YouTube, where you can now watch all of our new episodes. Who knows? You might even catch a glimpse of Carl at our headquarters if he's not already passed out at the tiki bar from all the margaritas.